During the final years of World War II, as the Allies tightened their grip on Europe, tens of thousands of German soldiers were captured and transported far from the battlefield. Among them were not only men, but also a smaller, often overlooked group. German women who had served as auxiliaries, clerks, nurses, and even propaganda workers in Hitler's war machine. For many, their journey ended in an unexpected place: the United States of America. What awaited them there was something they could hardly have imagined: dignity, soap, and a shower that symbolized a shocking reversal of everything they thought they knew about their enemies. When the transports arrived at American processing camps, the German prisoners, hardened by propaganda and fear, braced themselves for brutality. Years of Nazi indoctrination had taught them that Americans were barbarians, cruel and vindictive. The women, in particular, were terrified. Some expected beatings, others feared execution. They had seen what had happened to prisoners on the Eastern Front, and they assumed the same awaited them here. But what they found instead was bewildering kindness. Upon arrival, they were led through standard intake procedures: registration, medical checks, and decontamination. The American guards were polite but efficient, maintaining order without cruelty. Then came the moment that many would remember for the rest of their lives: the showers. The women hesitated, frozen by memories of the rumors that had spread across Europe about showers that were not showers at all. In the concentration camps, gas chambers had been disguised as communal bathing rooms. Now, as they stood in a tiled space with pipes overhead, their fear was palpable. But this time, there was no deception. Warm water flowed freely. Real soap was handed out. The guards stepped aside, allowing privacy and dignity for the first time in months. For some, in years, these women felt clean. The scent of the soap, simple and sharp, filled the air. It was a small act, almost trivial in its simplicity, yet profoundly human. Many began to cry, their emotions breaking through the shell of discipline and indoctrination. They realized that their captors had treated them not as monsters, but as people. Life in the American prisoner of war camps was not luxurious, but it was governed by rules that reflected the Geneva Convention. Each prisoner received adequate food, clean water, and access to medical care. The women were given uniforms and quarters separate from the men. Many of them worked in canteens, hospitals, or agricultural fields, earning small wages for their labor. They could write letters home, attend classes, and even participate in organized activities such as sewing, gardening, or music. To these prisoners, many of whom had endured months of bombings, starvation, and propaganda, the contrast was staggering. In Germany, they had been told that the Allies were monsters, bent on annihilation. Yet here, in a land they had been taught to despise, they were treated with fairness and restraint. This psychological shock was perhaps more powerful than any punishment could have been. It dismantled the myth of the enemy and forced them to question the ideology they had followed. Some American camp officers noticed the change. Reports from several POW facilities, especially those in Texas, Oklahoma, and Georgia, noted that German prisoners were often astonished by the level of civility shown to them. When female prisoners were involved, this reaction was even more pronounced. For the American guards, many of whom had wives or sisters of similar age, the sight of young German women arriving exhausted, frightened, and disoriented stirred a sense of empathy. Discipline remained strict, but there was an unspoken understanding. The war was against an ideology, not the individuals caught in its machinery. As weeks turned into months, relationships, though limited and regulated, formed between the guards and the prisoners. Language classes helped some women learn English. Others volunteered in hospitals or schools within the camp system. The idea was not to humiliate, but to re-educate, to expose them to the values of freedom and democracy through everyday experience rather than force. For many of these women, the memory of that first shower, with real water, real soap, and real mercy, became symbolic. It was the moment the war inside them began to end. Some later described it in letters and memoirs after their repatriation to Germany. They wrote of their astonishment, of how America's decency disarmed them more effectively than any weapon could. One former prisoner recalled, "When I felt the warm water on my skin, I realized everything we had been told was a lie. The enemy was more human than those who had led us to darkness." When the war finally ended, most of these women were repatriated in stages between 1946 and 1947. They returned to a broken homeland, cities in ruins, families scattered, an entire society coming to terms with guilt and loss. Yet many carried back with them a strange, quiet respect for their former captors. Some even described their time in America as the first period of peace they had ever truly known. History often remembers the victors and the battles, but not these small, intimate moments of humanity. The showers, the soap, the decency shown to the defeated. These were not acts of luxury, but acts of civilization. They represented a conscious choice to remain humane even in the aftermath of horror. For the German women, prisoners of war, those simple showers in America became more than just a cleansing of the body. They were a cleansing of illusion, a baptism into a truth their own leaders had hidden from them. That mercy, not hate, is the ultimate mark of strength.